Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
Today is another installment of our defense of the defendant. And today, we are going to be talking about nonsense, because we here at the Popish Plot, we love nonsense.
I was going to point out how we're not calling it a defense of the defendant, but it's probably going to be like how we weren't going to talk about World War II or argue about what makes a leaf, so...
Pickled swans.
Okay. Oh, nonsense.
Giraffe.
Now you're on the trolley.
Giraffe hurricane balloon.
That's better because
A
swans
polka
are
dotted
edible.
penguin. Giraffes are edible.
Are they?
I think anyone who says they're not just isn't trying hard enough.
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying that they taste good. I've never had giraffe, and I imagine it's quite gamey. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying. You could theoretically pickle a swan. For all I know, that was a delicacy in the Middle Ages.
I also imagine...
probably still is in Sweden.
And they probably then put it in a larger animal that they also pickled.
I also imagine giraffe is quite lean, as they are relatively active animals.
Yeah.
They run and stuff. At least they can run.
They sort of lope.
Yeah,
Their legs are so long that even though they're moving quite swiftly, they don't really look like they're running.
that's fair.
Well, that's because you assume that it's a horse from a very far away distance.
Or very, very close up.
Because it's preposterous.
It is.
Who would believe such a thing if we hadn't seen it? It's nonsensical.
It is.
Anyways.
No, but this is good because there's a very close relative to the giraffe called the okapi,
Yes.
which until it was
Which has
found,
no neck.
It's proportioned like a horse, but genetically it's close.
Yeah.
And before it was discovered, all these African tribesmen would say, "Oh yeah, this thing is totally out there," and all the fancy pants European explorers would say, "Well, I've never seen it, therefore it doesn't exist." And then we found it, and it was wonderful because it's ridiculous.
It's so cute.
So, one of the points that I really liked in A Defense of Nonsense is Chesterton pointing out how limited most people's imaginations are. People sticking with cold reason all the time have lost any sense of wonder, such as to believe that God, in his infinite creativity, made such gloriously ridiculous a creature as a giraffe.
Yeah.
You just have to wonder, what was that day like?
The making of the giraffe?
Well,
or the realization that a giraffe is a thing?
He's initiating the evolutionary process as we experience it.
Okay.
But he's up in heaven and he's drawing it out, because apparently in heaven there are blueprints.
Oh, sure.
And he's drawn up the giraffe.
Little flags.
And some of the angels come over and they're like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's a creature with a ridiculously long neck." Well, that's weird. I know, it's going to be great.
Why is its neck so long? To reach the leaves?
Well, why don't you just make the leaves lower? Well, then the neck wouldn't have to be as long.
Maybe it was the same day as the platypus here. Just knocking all the weird animals.
So the great thing about nonsense is that it pokes at that worldview, that there's nothing else out there, that there is nothing at which to wonder.
Well, and see, that was kind of one of the things that I really got from the defense of nonsense, in that he was talking about the nonsense, I believe it was, of Lear versus the nonsense of Carroll, where Carroll's was a mathematical nonsense. It was kind of actually like founded in like reason. It was very, it was nonsensical, but yet very ordered.
Yes, there are a number of people who study English who have many deep theories on the internal structure of Lewis Carroll's work, which becomes very boring when you study it from an English perspective.
Because you've taken all the wonder out of it.
But Lear, his nonsense was like nonsense for this. It wasn't like utter nonsense. It wasn't like giraffe, hurricane, balloon, where none of this makes any sense unless there's something to tie it together.
Again, in a world where there are like 5 Sharknadoes, giraffe hurricane does not seem that ridiculous.
But like he talked
Are
about
there
this.
hurricanes in Africa, Savannah, though?
Well, the savannah, no, but
he talked about this poem that Lear had done, which I felt the need to go and read. The Dong with the Luminous Nose, which actually is really quite an interesting poem. I highly recommend it. It's available out on the internet. You don't have to like pay any money to read it. You can just go.
We'll put a link down in the description below.
Sure,
Possibly.
Maybe.
Why not?
We can find.
You said it's accessible on the interwebs.
Well, it's older than this book that's public domain, so it must be public domain year.
Yeah. Anyways, but the point that I really, one of the points I really took away from it was he talks about how everybody wants to escape. Nonsense was that sort of a door to escape the eternally ordered and appropriate world in which we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And what struck me is that, much like with other things that we've seen in the defense, is that these things really are time transcendent. Yes, he's talking about certain types of escapism, and he's talking about certain people living in certain cultural situations. But at the same time, we have all sorts of escapism. We've got people who turn to substances to try and get free from the ordered world, or they just withdraw into a little world of their own. We've even got people who are living in our world who are trying to escape the infinitely and eternally ordered nature of, appropriately ordered nature of it, by trying to insist that they through their own sheer will can determine their own essence and existence. So, it was what was the note I made? Sorry. Everyone wants to escape this world of eternal appropriateness. And they attempt this through these things, but at the same time, he later goes and points out that nonsense for its own sake is just gibberish. Nonsense has to have a foundation. It has to have something it's rooted in. Art for art's sake is fine as long as you respect that this tree, it has to have the ground. You couldn't take the tree and flip it upside down and have it grow just fine.
Are you sure? Because next time we talk, we're going to be talking about planets, and so essentially everything in Australia is an upside-down tree.
We'll think about that next time. So, Jess, what did you get out of A Defense of Nonsense?
Well, it reminded me of, I believe, another quote of his about essentially how God is eternally young. We get old and cynical, but...
Hey, I was young and cynical.
According to him, I was never young.
Cynical.
So, but...
Thank you. Everybody says that I'm still young. I want to be middle-aged. When do I get to be middle-aged?
You'll never.
And then I throw a little tantrum.
You'll never get to be middle-aged.
I want to be a big boy!
Yes.
But anyway, he pointed out how essentially God is eternally young. In that, he is timeless and changeless. So the God who said, you know what would be a great idea? Giraffes! Is still the same God.
No, you're going to love this platypus thing. It's a mammal, but it lays eggs and it has venom. It's going to be great.
In fact, we're going to make a whole continent. Everything on there will try to kill you.
It's the continent of misfit animals.
It is.
Marsupials.
I like the little ones that they show on different things where I'm like, this thing isn't going to kill you, but it really wants to. And it'll be like something that's this big, like on someone's finger, like,
but it will try as hard as it can. I can't wait until we can shoot an episode in Australia and not die.
Okay, all right, there's that.
It's reasonably possible.
Cross our hearts and hope to God.
So, have you been reading along? What did you get out of The Defendant?
Did you think it was nonsensical? Did you think it was too sensical? I don't even know what I mean by that.
Neither do I. To be honest, I think you're making stuff up at the moment. You're using words. I understand each word by itself, but
Giraffe, hurricane, balloon.
But when you put them together, it makes no sense.
Pickled swan.
Again, that probably was a thing.
Maginot line.
Just because it's French doesn't mean it's made up.
Harley Earl.
Anyways, go down below to the comments section and, let us know what you thought. Maybe comment on somebody else's comment. Let's keep the discussion going. We're having fun with this book.
Most nonsensical reply wins.
You don't win anything, but you win.
I was just going to imply that we're not telling them what they win,
You'll win a pickled swan?
No.
Stickers. We got lots of stickers, and if there's a way for us to get them to you with, not having to spend money, then you can have some stickers.
We'll send it postage due.
Yeah.
No, we'll just hand it to Deacon on the weekend.
It's probably going to Deacon.
So, after you've commented, Be sure to subscribe to our channel to ring the church bell to be notified whenever a new plot is uploaded, like this episode. Nonsense!
Nonsense. And until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.
Do you like art? Do you like weird names given to things just to annoy the person who had to read it at an auction?
I do.
Yes. Well, this happens to be a print of Caramel Chameleon.
It comes and goes.
It comes
and goes.
And it's from our friends at Quack Honk Designs. We'll have links down below for their information. But if you like funny things that are punny, and this piece was solely created because she gave the original away in auction for a charity that helped, I believe, dogs and cats.
And
the
she
person
got to
had
make
read
the
it.
auctioneer have to read it.
Yes. Many times. We kept being like, what was that piece again?
It was fantastic.
Yep.
Doing good and making someone else uncomfortable, it's win-win.
Exactly. So go down below, click those links, check them out, and and by doing so, you'll help thank them for this magnificent microphone they gave us.
There are two equal and eternal ways of looking at this twilight world of ours. We may see it as the twilight of evening,